Thanks for joining me. So you've announced a raft of changes to welfare. You've revealed that growth forecasts have been downgraded. What was in this statement for young people?
Well, reflecting the fact that the world has changed so much with the importance of spending more on defence, but also all of the uncertainty in the world, does mean that globally growth forecasts for this year have been revised down. But actually for each subsequent year, right up until the end of the decade, growth forecasts have been revised upwards because of the investment we're putting in, for example, for new housing. And so for young people, that has two big benefits. First of all, we know that home ownership is going backwards today, and you have to be older and older to get on the housing ladder in the first place. This government has committed to build 1.5 million homes in these 5 years of government, and the forecasts today show that we're moving in the direction of achieving that. So homes for families, homes for young people, and of course jobs as well. And alongside the spring statement today, we announced an additional 60,000 training places in the construction sector, because not only do we want British families and young people to be able to get on the housing ladder, there's great jobs paying decent wages in getting them built.
Many young people will have grown up, all they've known their whole life is austerity. They'll have been very excited for Labour to come in and spend loads of money making their life better. Aren't these cuts that you've announced recently just showing that we are moving towards austerity 2.0?
Oh no, I mean, this is a far cry from what we saw in the Conservative years. In the budget last year, compared to what I inherited from the Conservatives, we put £190 billion into the day-to-day spending of government, so to pay for the teachers in our schools, the appointments in our National Health Service, the police, the armed forces, but we also put an additional £100 billion into capital spending. That's the hospital buildings or the transport infrastructure or the wind farms and the digital data centres. So this isn't austerity, it's very different from that. In fact, in this Parliament, spending, even after taking into account inflation, will increase in every single year. And the austerity period, particularly 2010 to 2015, when Cameron and Osborne were Prime Minister and Chancellor, there were cuts every year in spending, and there were cuts to capital spending as well. So we're increasing spending in every year. Now, of course, we're going to want to move money around to spend on the priorities we were elected on, particularly on getting NHS waiting lists down, giving children a good start in life, more neighbourhood police. So, of course, there are going to be some things that we won't spend on that the previous government were, but overall, those budgets are going up.
Many young people will have been surprised to see that you allow tuition fees to rise this Parliament, and you've targeted some young people by restricting their access to benefits. How can you reassure young people that you're not abandoning them?
When we came into office, many universities were in really struggling situations financially. And I want young people to have the choice, if that's what they want to do, to go to university. I also want to expand apprenticeships, and I'll say something about that as well. But we did need to stabilise the finance of universities. Tuition fees for this year are going up by inflation, so just keeping track with the rising prices and the rising costs that universities have to face. And of course, alongside that, we increased the maintenance loan as well. But governments have to make difficult decisions based on the circumstances that we inherited. And I think it is right to make sure that universities are on a firm footing, because not only do we want young people to go to university if that's their choice, we want to have a good experience whilst they're there, with access to great facilities and great tutors. But we also know that for many young people, university isn't the right choice and isn't the preferred route. And so we're also expanding the number of apprenticeships. And just a couple of weeks ago, during National Apprenticeship, myself and Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, were able to announce around 10,000 additional apprenticeships by changing some of the entry requirements to enable young people who maybe didn't get the GCSEs they were hoping for, but to enable them to still access that apprenticeship route, because we want more people to get those opportunities. We're in a situation today where 1 in 5 young people, we're in a situation today where 1 in 8 young people are not in education, employment or training. I'm not willing to write off an entire generation of young people. We want young people either in education, getting training, or in paid employment, and that's very important for us. It's why we're putting a lot of money, a lot of resource into that back to work training.
Here's an idea for you. There's around 1 million people, young people, out of work. We need to boost defence to help defend Ukraine. Some people would say, well, why don't you force those 18-year-olds who are not working to join the military, bring in national service?
I'm not in favour of national service, but there are vacancies in our armed forces and we need to recruit more people. And I think that people can see in the changed world in which we're in today the opportunities for good jobs in our armed forces, but also in the defence sector that produces the tanks, the machinery, the ships that our armed forces use. And of course, as this government increases the amount of money spent on defence, there's going to be more good jobs, paying decent wages in that sector, and we're really determined as we increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP, which we've now announced and put the money aside for, that money benefits British Armed Forces, but also our defence sector with more jobs here and also exporting around the world, because other European countries are also uplifting what they're spending on defence, and we have a chance in Britain to become a real defence industrial superpower, exporting what we make around the world.
Now, the OBR did downgrade growth forecasts, but they said that people will be £500 better off than under the Tories by the end of the decade. Is that it?
Well, they only downgraded 1 year, and every other year they upgraded. So they downgraded growth forecasts for this year. I don't think that has come as a surprise to many, because countries around the world are struggling at the moment with higher borrowing costs, with lots of uncertainty around trade, for example. And so many countries, most countries, have seen their growth forecasts downgraded. The good news is that that's only happened in the UK for 1 year, and in every other year, right until the end of this decade, the Office of Budget Responsibility are actually forecasting that the economy will grow more strongly, and by the end of this Parliament they're predicting that the economy will be bigger than what they set out just in the autumn last year. So that's very welcome. We are facing challenging environment at the moment. We've responded to that as a government to make sure that we can keep that stability in the economy, and that's so important after what we went through 2.5 years ago with the Liz Truss mini budget and the impact that had on mortgages, on rents, on prices. So we've returned that stability to the economy, and on the back of that we now need to build that growth to ensure that there are more good jobs and living standards rise. But as you say, by the end of this decade, the Office Budget Responsibility is saying the average person will be £500 better off compared to what they were forecasting when the Conservatives left office. And that's what's happened in just 9 months. I want to go further and faster to deliver the good jobs, paying decent wages, and ensure that more people have money in their pockets to spend on the things that matter to them and their families.
You're taking a bit of flack for accepting Sabrina Carpenter tickets, but what's your favourite Sabrina Carpenter song?
Well, look, I've got to tell you, Sabrina Carpenter, I mean, she's great, but I am a 46-year-old woman, so I think it probably will come no surprise that it was another family member of mine who was more of the Sabrina Carpenter fan. And look, in the job that I'm doing now, it is harder to do some of those normal everyday things. Now, don't get me wrong, this job is a privilege of my life, but I do now have security and just doing things like, going to a pop concert, which I'd love to be able to do with my kids. I just can't do that in the way that I could before. So I did take tickets to be in a box. I felt that was the right thing to do for the security needs that I've got now. I know that for some people that will look weird. I totally get that. But I do want to carry on doing the things that normal parents do with their kids, and that gave me the opportunity to do that. I did enjoy the song, so please, please, please.
Great. Thank you very much,
Thank
Chancellor.
you.